Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today, doing a fun discussion video talking about some of what's going on with structure decks, because funny enough, looking into 2024, we have literally no structure decks revealed at this point. So everything's kind of up in the air. In fact, a lot of stuff for 2024 is unrevealed so far. I might do a couple more discussions about some of the other products that aren't revealed yet and what we could expect to come, or just kind of like a halfway prediction, halfway, getting your expectations right kind of video. And that's kind of what we're doing here. Structure decks are great. I mean, I think structure decks are one of the best products in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because they're cheap, they're simple, and as long as they're effective and Konami executes whatever's in that structure deck well, the product's going to do well. I mean, we're looking at it at Fire Kings. Fire Kings are now like a top 5 competitive deck in the OCG. If it's anywhere near that here, that will be a successful structure deck here. And so on and so forth. We've seen the Trap Trick structure deck do really well. We've seen Albaz structure deck in a couple years past do really nicely. I think they're a good product when they're executed well. When it's poorly, that's when it's done poorly, then it's not going to do well. But obviously that goes without saying. So what are we looking for 2024? It's a lot of cool stuff. Let's start with the regular structure deck, because low-key, Konami's been doing about 1 to 2 structure decks a year for the regular structure decks, and then one structure deck R series. So we're talking about the OCG. I know we don't get every single one of these structure decks to us, like we did not get this one here in the TCG, the Overlay Universe structure deck from 2021, but all these other ones we did. So we're going to talk about what we expect for structure decks from the OCG, because we'll get them eventually. So, looking at the most recent ones, we got one this year as far as like brand new structure decks, not our series, in the form of the Pulse of the King, the Jack Atlas structure deck. 2022, we got Trap Tricks at the end of the year, and then we got Crystal Beast earlier in the year. Then we go back to 2021, we got Albaz Strike, we got Overlay Universe, and we got the Cyber Style successor, all in the same year in the OCG. I don't expect that to continue too much further. I think that's kind of a thing in the past, getting 5 structure decks in the same year. But I do expect at least 1 or 2 to go through here. Now, there's some really interesting things. If you want to break these up into categories of like the types of structure decks they are, how Konami is kind of approaching this, I would say, is the better way to view it. Pulse of the King. That's an anime structure deck, right? Jack Atlas, very prevalent character from one of their most popular anime series. Cool, makes sense. Give him a structure deck. Trap Tricks. This is more of like a meta nostalgia structure deck, right? It's also a fan favorite, so like fans love waifu decks, so this is kind of like a waifu archetype, but it's also a past historical like meta archetype that people may have some nostalgia for at the same time, but just hasn't been able to keep up with the modern day game, so they give them a good structure to kind of keep them relevant there. Good stuff. That's a great structure deck. Then we go back further to Crystal Beast. Again, anime archetype, Jesse Anderson. Makes sense. Nothing crazy there. And then we move to this one. So this one's the one that's like the weirdest one. And we'll skip this one for a second. We'll come back to this in a sec. Overlay Universe. Anime archetype. It's just Zexal. It's just Utopia, the structure deck. And then before that, another anime structure deck in like Cyber Dark stuff. Not meta in any way over the history of time. It's just like an anime basically structure deck there. So when you look back here, it's almost been like a flip-flop, right? Anime, non-anime. Anime, this one's non-anime. Anime, and then these are animes, but these kind of got squeezed in together into the same year. Kind of like a weird COVID thing, maybe, but I don't expect that to be the case here necessarily. It could be. They can always do anime structure decks. But here's the thing I'm more interested in. Albaz structure deck. This is a structure deck in which we got a new lore midway through the year about for the Albaz lore, and Dogmatic, I believe, was the first archetype revealed. Albaz got revealed at that time as well, and within the next couple months we maybe got Tri-Brigade somewhere in the next set after, I think somewhere in that range. But the bigger thing there is we got this structure deck, and this was a structure deck to help kind of launch the new lore. And I think that could be huge here, because lo and behold, we just started a brand new lore, almost on the exact same timeline as far as calendar year and all that stuff goes, right? We just got, Snake Eye and Diabellstar revealed, which is like a single monster that the whole lore seems to be revolved around, just like Albaz. It doesn't have its own archetype yet. It's just kind of a generic card that can kind of mix in with some other stuff a little bit. We already have Goblin Riders revealed for the next core set. That's kind of like the Tri-Brigade here. And then next year, early next year, or maybe by the end of this year, we have an announcement for a Dia Bellstar specific archetype, a full-on archetype designed around Sinful Spoils, right? We have a couple Sinful Spoils cards, but they're not all the way there. Right? We may have had a couple branded cards to get started with the Albaz lore, but not a full-on archetype. Then we got the Albaz Strike structure deck, and we took off flying. So I think that's actually a huge possibility here. So keep an eye out for that. If that's the case, I'm getting huge credit for that, for even noticing that as a trend. I'll give it to myself. Nobody else wants to give it to me, but we'll see. Other than that, like you're never going to be surprised if they go ahead and pick another anime character that they haven't gotten support in a while and they want to give it a full-on structure deck. Nobody's going to be surprised there. And they could also go this like meta nostalgia route, right? Like another archetype that's kind of like Trap Tricks, meta in the past, still a fan favorite archetype, but just isn't there. I thought of something like Fire Fist would be an interesting one, like meta in the past, super fan favorite, but just can't keep up right now. Give them a full-on structure deck, like get them back up to speed. I think a lot of people would be happy about that, but obviously we will see when we see. Which takes us to the next piece. The next piece of information that we need to discuss is the structure deck R. We don't usually get these in the TCG. We've gotten some of them, not all of them, but like Fire King we got, this one we got, Agents we didn't, and then prior to Agents we had Dragoonity, which we didn't get, and then Machina we did. So we've gotten like 3 out of 5. But that's not the bigger piece of news here. I mean, the bigger piece of news here is what are we looking at here? What is the prospect of the next structure deck R? Because looking back in the last 3 years, we're getting 1 a year. It's coming at usually the end of the year in the TCG or the OCG, and sometimes coming earlier for the TCG. Kind of depends, but still, we're about getting 1 a year here from the OCG, and that's still what really matters. And they've been pretty successful. All in all, like Dark World's one of those like rogue decks that you have to respect if you're a competitive player. Fire Kings right now is performing like a legit top deck. Agents never really took off, but they have some nice cards there. Dragoonity has some cards that are still played in Dragon Link, and Machina made Earth Machine a legit rogue deck. If that structure deck never came out, I don't know if they'd ever be a rogue deck. So they've been decently respectable for sure. Here's what we're looking at for the future. Okay, so we're in a really interesting spot because this is the first. Whoa! There we go. Whoa, that's not it either. Come on, there we go. Okay, so we're in a really interesting spot as it comes to the Structure Deck R series. First thing that we need to make note of: we have skipped 2 structure decks. We skipped straight to Fire Kings. Prior to Fire Kings, we should have hit these 2 structure decks theoretically. The Dragon's Legion, I think, is the name of this structure deck. It's kind of like a Chaos Dragon structure deck that has a bunch of light and dark dragons, I believe. What's that one dragon that got banned that if like it's banished, it like searches a dragon or something? Or Foolish Burial's a dragon. I can't remember his name, but I can picture him in my head. Who's banned? I believe he came out of this structure deck. So stuff like that, just a basic Chaos Dragon structure deck. And we also skipped Atlanteans as a structure deck, which I think is a lot more interesting. Now, there's a couple ways you could look at this to analyze it. I honestly sit here and I believe that the Dragoon or the Chaos Dragon structure deck, it's just kind of boring. We get Chaos Dragon support like literally every year, whether it's on purpose or not. As if Konami makes a new boss dragon monster, it's usually a light or dark dragon. So they're constantly getting support. Plus, if they actually made a full-on structure deck, for them to make a full-on Chaos Dragon structure deck and actually try to make the structure deck good enough that it would sell as a product, it would probably break Dragon Link. So I don't think they'll go that route. I don't think that makes sense. I think this was always a prime candidate for them to just skip over. Just doesn't make sense. They're already going to hit Dragon support elsewhere. It's not a huge deal. Atlanteans, however, I think are interesting. Now, I've been talking for like months and months and more like almost half the year. 2023 is the year of fire. We've gotten so many good fire support cards, whether they're generic or archetypal support. We get Fire Kings with their structure deck R. And with them getting their structure deck R, we have to ask the question, did they skip these just because they really wanted to make 2023 the year of fire and they thought Fire King structure deck fit into that mold perfectly? So let's just go ahead and jump these 2. Let's get that one out now and we can go get those later. That's definitely a thought process they might be looking at here. I would love it if they still give Atlanteans a structure deck R. I think this is a perfect excuse to give them a structure deck, and I think it'll also potentially give them an avenue to maybe even steer like the Atlantean Mermail deck away from Degeneracy. That deck has been known for like hand looping, and if they give them good enough support, they can kind of just go and like Ixnay on Mooling Glacier if they want, right? They can just ban Mooling Glacier if they make the support good enough, and that archetype that deck may just be good enough as just like a water good stuff deck without even needing Mooling Glacier anymore. That would be optimal because hand ripping 2 is really broken. We see that with Dark World and stuff. So they even have a realm where they could even steer them away from Degeneracy, but also just, I think this is a pretty fan favorite one as well. I know a lot of people who love Atlanteans and Mermails alike, and this structure could go a long way in helping that along. But, we'll see. After that, the structure decks that would have come after, if they are choosing to move straight past these 2 structure decks and just move on to what's next, we've got some anime structure decks, which is kind of weird because a lot of these have just been like one-off structure decks that kind of came out of nowhere and introduced almost like entirely new archetypes. That's not what we see here. Technically, if we were going strictly off the list and what comes next, we're looking at a Blue Eye structure deck. If you go past that, you're looking at Cyber Dragon, and then if you go past that, you're looking at Hero. Now, of these 3, I think Cyber Dragon makes the most sense if they were going to nitpick and say, we give Blue Eye support every year. We give Hero support every year. We don't need to support those. You know what they don't give every year is Cyber Dragon. Now, they'd still give Cyber Dragon a decent amount of support relative to other structure deck, or not structure deck, but like fan favorite archetypes, right? But not even fan favorite, but relative to like normal archetypes, they really haven't given Cyber Dragon support in so long. People thought the Cyber Style successor structure deck was going to be Cyber Dragon support, and it wasn't at all. Like, none of that stuff really makes all that much sense in Cyber Dragon. So I actually think Cyber Dragon's actually potentially a prime candidate to end up getting its own structure deck here. They haven't really been relevant in a while. I think Yu-Gi-Oh's just better when Cyber Dragons are more relevant. Konami has kind of decided that this is one of the few archetypes, along with Heroes, that they're okay with being a little more competitively relevant. They don't seem to want Blue Eyes and Dark Magician to be competitively relevant, and I don't see how they make a full-on structure deck and actually make it desirable in terms of like good enough support without making it like at least like meta adjacent with all the cards they already have. So I actually think Cyber Dragon makes the most sense. That's the one I would hope for as well. Hero I wouldn't even be pissed at, especially if it's like specifically a Hero Strike R structure deck and they go specifically with like masked hero support only. I think that could be cool because they've expanded on Elemental Hero support. They've expanded on Evil Hero and all the other ones, right? Destiny Hero. But they haven't really given like masked hero support really like in a long while. So I actually think they could get some really cool stuff there. Maybe they actually get like the negate they've been looking for. Everybody says like heroes are like, they just need a negate. We'll see. But I think there's some cool stuff here on the horizon. What I'm hoping here is either they go back into Atlantean this year and then maybe next year they skip to Cyber Dragon, or they just go straight to Cyber Dragon. I'm really not that interested in Blue Eyes or this Chaos Dragon deck. Never have been. So that would be my hope there. And then, like I said, with these, I think it's possible we get the Diabell Star stuff and then hopefully Cyber Dragon. So very cool. Those are just my thoughts, just going a little bit back into the history of what's been going on the last couple of years. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what to look forward to, just a fun little discussion on what could be coming. But yeah, that's going to do it from here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know your thoughts down below on this stuff. What do you want to see from these structure decks? If you have an idea of what they should do as the next upcoming ones this year. And, your thoughts on structure decks overall in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. I'd love to hear that stuff down below. But I'm out of here for today. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Subscribe if you haven't. You want to see more discussions like this one down the line. I'll see you later. Peace.